Alright everybody, hello and welcome. This will be another hippie Dota cast featuring Pain Gaming against Virtus Pro in a best of 3 series actually it was played today for the Premier League. So this is a replay cast as usual, and let's jump right into it. Both teams have been playing pretty strongly so far in the Premier League, at least from what I've seen from them. Virtus Pro has been playing strongly all over the place, and has even been innovating, especially Santa innovating the clockwork play that's kind of taken the scene a bit. I did start the replay, right? Yeah, good, okay. Just taking a while for them to ban. I probably could have just looked at, the timer and I would have known. Lifestealer banned that immediately. Pain not wanting to deal with that, but Pain Gaming has shown us some great play. They've been up against some pretty nasty opponents, so the series I've cast, they haven't actually taken a series, but they always impress me, they always fight it out, and they take at least one game every time I see them play. So we'll see how they do against VP today. Wisp being banned out by VP, not wanting to give that up. Pain bans out the Darkseer, so VP can now, if they want to, leave Bat, Nyx, and Coddle, do a targeted ban, give Pain maybe one of those heroes, and then take the other two. Now, the problem is, Nyx is kind of an order above. They are banning Magnus, though. I would expect Nyx to be the first pick for Pain Gaming, but maybe they have something else in mind. Maybe they'd rather have the Bat or the Coddle. But if it was my choice between the three of those, I'd say Nyx is just kind of a tier above. He's really in his own class, and then Bat and Coddle. But no, Pain is going to take the Bat Rider. We'll see if VP takes the obvious picks or if they go for something else. With the Darkseer and the Magnus banned out, I mean, Coddle Nyx is a pretty ridiculous double pick, and it doesn't even show that much about your lanes, because of course you have the Coddle, he's going to be a support, but the Nyx can go anywhere. You don't need to worry about, getting a lot of targeted bans during the second phase off of those pickups. Especially if you pick another kind of unclear hero for your third pick. Although with Darkseer out, Darkseer and Magnus out, there's fewer of those available. But they exist, of course. Queen of Pain, for instance, can go a couple different places. And, I mean, obviously an incredibly solid mid, but if the situation arises where you need to do it, you can throw her in the offlane. Nyx Assassin, the obvious pickup, but Nature's Prophet being picked up very early. He's really kind of pushing his way back into the scene. I mean, he was very, very well favored months back. Kind of fell to sort of a 4th, 5th pick, maybe, and occasionally making it through, but he's been getting a lot of play, especially from Fnatic. Trixie absolutely loves that hero and has an excellent track record with him. But, there's plenty of people picking up Nature's Prophet again and again, and his versatility, his ability to find farm wherever he needs to, his ability to farm incredibly fast that makes him a late-game threat, and just the split push power he can put out make him a very powerful pick. Keeper of the Light and Phantom Lance are going to be picked up for Pain Gaming, so they want to take this late, but at the same time, picking up the Keeper of the Light, who is the absolute best partner for Phantom Lancer in the game. I think that's pretty generally well agreed upon. I would like it if VP picked up Shadow Demon real quick, because Shadow Demon is particularly nice against a farmed Phantom Lancer. Simply because when you, if he sends his illusions forward to push, basically you disrupt one of the illusions, and the illusions you create off of that still get juxtaposed. But no, they're just going to pick up Gyrocopter, who is equally fantastic against Phantom Lancer in the mid-game, because Flat Cannon will allow him to just mow down those illusions very, very quickly. And VP does indeed love their Gyrocopter with Airman. I mean, it's kind of funny that Airman plays Gyrocopter and plays him exceptionally well. It fits. Bane going to be the first second phase ban from Pain Gaming. VP up next. So we've got a lot of versatility coming out for Virtus Pro, simply because you can have the Nyx as a support, you can have the Nyx as a mid. I've seen him more as a mid recently because teams are really favoring the level 6 gank power. You can also theoretically run him in an offlane, although that's more likely to be the Prophet's role. Prophet can mid, but it's kind of rare. I think EG actually was doing some of that earlier today in a really well-played series they had against Mouse Sports. If you missed that, you can go find it over on AC's channel or on his YouTube channel. Superb games that came out. Silencer are going to be banned out by Pain Gaming, and the Lone Druid by VP. And of course the Gyrocopter can lane mid, he can lane safe lane, he can lane in a tri-lane. He can do a whole lot of very, very powerful things with that hero. So they can basically pick around the laning situation. Like, when they see what's coming out from Pain Gaming, they already see that there's a Keeper of the Light and there's a Phantom Lancer. So you know that's going to be most likely a defensive tri-lane involving the Coddle, the Phantom Lancer, and insert support here. Probably a jungler, because you generally don't want to lane aggressive against a Coddle Phantom Lancer. It's just too difficult to actually get anything done. So they can pick up pick up a solid jungler as opposed to having to have a third support, like, kind of in the lane and doing stack pulls to get their experience, because they need to be closer to defend the PL. They're not going to need that. And then the Batrider will most likely go mid, will occasionally off lane, sometimes can be the jungler, in fact, if they decide they need different heroes in the mid or the off lane. But because VP has so many options in how they can run the 3 heroes they've already picked, they can be much more loose with their last couple picks and react to whatever they think they need to do against Pain. I would expect them to just try to farm the Gyro in the safe lane and kind of go for a mid-game push to catch Pain before Phantom Lancer really starts to turn into a death ball. But at the same time, we've seen Phantom Lancers getting more and more farmed much more quickly. I mean, as the hero is played more, and as people on the scene kind of just get familiar with how and where he can farm and how quickly, how aggressively you can farm the jungle and pick up extra creeps, he gets more and more gold much more quickly. So he can become a real fighting force by, 15-20 minutes if he has a Diffusal and a Yasha at that point, which is not unheard of. So we see a couple offlaners banned out by VP, as well as the Chen. They don't want to have to deal with the extra push of the Chen coming on top of the Keeper of the Light and the Phantom Lancer, and Rubik being banned out by Pain Gaming. Rubik, of course, an amazing hero, can just do so many wonderful, wonderful things. There's not a particular spell on Pain Gaming that would be, like, super nasty if he stole it at the moment, but at the same time, first of all, he's useful outside the spell steal because telekinesis is fantastic, and second of all, Rubik with, just picking up an extra nuke to give him amazing nuke power. If he picks up an extra disable, he gets amazing disabling power. If he picks up Firefly, the amount of mobility he gets is kind of ridiculous. As well as, of course, just being able to lay that fire down. Pain Gaming gonna pick up a Warlock, so that's pretty awesome. I'm really used to just Dignitas picking up that hero, but Pain Gaming gonna see if they can make it work, and Shadow Demon gonna be picked up by VP. So Shadow Demon, Gyrocopter, already a fantastic combo. Disruption to get Gyro time to go in on anyone if he wants to, and then followed up with a Rocket Barrage. Maybe we're going to be seeing a Shadow Demon Gyro Nyx aggressive tri-lane. That's a really, really powerful aggressive tri. We'll have to see what they come out with their last pick, see if their lanes will support that. Pain Gaming hopefully going to be running that Warlock solo somewhere, maybe Batrider off lane or Batrider jungle, and Warlock in the mid lane. We've seen what Fogged can do with that Warlock, and it can be totally brutal. Even though the last time I casted these guys casted Dignitas, yesterday, he did not have the greatest Warlock game when they did the Warlock Spectre pickup. I would like Pain Gaming to pick up some kind of better, solid stun, because they have, like, really good... they have the Warlock to interrupt, they have the Batrider once he gets a Blink Dagger with his lasso. They have some decent interrupts, but they don't have really solid stuns to lock down the Gyro and Nyx. There, Sand King. So Sand King gonna be... excuse me, guys. Not only a solid stun, but more excellent teamfight power, and Storm Spirit gonna be the final pickup. So, yeah, I'm actually going to say Nature's Prophet safe lane, Storm Spirit mid, Shadow Demon, Nature's Prophet, Nyx aggressive tri-lane. We'll see if I'm right about that, because that could be so much fun to watch, and it's very, very powerful. You get the disruption to get the Gyro in close enough to kind of go on whoever your target is. You get the Nyx stun follow-up right out of the disruption, and the Rocket Barrage, of course, tons and tons of damage. However, the Sand King, especially if he's in the tri-lane, if he lines up those stuns really well, which is admittedly pretty difficult at level 1 with how short it is, but Sand King can be really, really excellent in a defensive tri-lane just for stopping any sort of stopping any sort of attempts to go on your carry hero. Especially because he can just stun in, and then he can dodge projectile stuns with his invis. He can put out a lot of AoE damage, because Sandstorm is a lot... People tend to underestimate Sandstorm damage in public games. Exploit that, by the way, if you play a lot of Sand King. People don't really realize how much damage Sandstorm does. It's kind of amazing. Alright, well, we have the pause. Very quickly, no, not everyone's in, but we'll go through Pain Gaming's selections right here. We're going to have Pata playing the Bat Rider, Grent on the Sand King, Klotz on the Phantom Lancer, Billy on the Keeper of the Light, and King Red on the Warlock. So that probably is going to be a mid-Warlock. Fantastic, can't wait for that. And we'll power through the pause real quick, just to make sure that we have everyone from VP ready to go before I start listing them off. I love 8x speed, it's pretty much the greatest thing. Can you imagine being in a live cast and just trying to fill up time with this before anything's even happening? Man, those are some interesting lineups. Not to say that they aren't. I love every time a Warlock gets picked, and even Sand King is kind of a reasonably uncommon pick, just because he kind of has a reasonably high skill cap, and it's actually quite hard, especially on a support Sand King, to get enough gold to get a Blink Dagger early, which makes landing a good epicenter very difficult, and you can really tell the really good Sand Kings, because instead of hitting like 1 or 2 people with their stun, they'll hit 2 to 4 people with their stun. I mean, because it's a huge stun, it can get a lot of people if you're really good at aiming it. They'll get epicenters before they have a Blink Dagger, and they'll get a lot of them. They won't just get one. You know, they know exactly how to time things, exactly how to exploit fog and the stun distance, and do a lot of stun dodging with the Sandstorm. You can really exploit that hero if you have a lot of practice on him. Moving over to Virtus Pro, we're going to have, I believe, Airman, but I'm just going to call him Illidan, because Illidan's a BAMF. Illidan Storm Rage on the Gyrocopter, KSI going to be on the Nyx Assassin, Vampire on the Shadow Demon, I have no idea who that name change is, Santa on the Nature's Prophet, and TMW, Mid Storm Spirit.
30 seconds to go.
Close that. And boom, I'm even going to have my last hit indicator up at the right time. I am learning, guys. I'm getting better at this. So it looks like the Airman, or the Gyrocopter, not the Airman. I just want to call him the Airman. The Gyrocopter is going to be actually hanging out in the safe lane, so I was wrong. It will not be an aggressive tri-lane. As good of an aggressive tri-lane as it could be against the Phantom Lancer, against the Sand King stun, which is particularly good, as I was mentioning. Even with the only 350 range at level 1, it can be pretty devastating if you catch a couple people with it. And then, on top of that, the defensive potential from the Keeper of the Light, the Illuminate spam, they don't even want to land against that. And yeah, they're just going to have Bat Rider stacking up the jungle and farming it that way, doing some safe lane, or some easy camp pulls. Safe lane pulls? What a weird thing to say. Dual mid... Okay, this is weird to me simply because you really want your Storm Spirit to have a very fast 6. I guess what will probably happen is Shadow Demon's going to be doing some easy camp pulls, but no, because Nature's Prophet is in the jungle. So we are going to have a disruption coming out onto the Warlock. They don't want to give him any chance to control this lane. And Warlock can be very, very powerful, especially the Shadow Word stats build is what Fogged has been favoring. And it gives you not only a lot of last hitting power, a lot of durability, but a lot of mana to spam off that Shadow Word with. And look at how much damage this Storm Spirit is taking already from this Warlock. Just constant harassment coming out. Looks like we're going to have some stack ups going on from the Shadow Demon in there. But, I mean, I think a lot of... I mean, the mid lane is going to kind of set the tone for the game, I feel, simply because you have 2 incredibly high-impact mid-game heroes in the mid lane. If Warlock gets the better of Storm Spirit, you know, gets a fast Midas, and on top of that goes for, you know, a quick Ags, and can have an Ags out by 20-22 minutes, something like that, he can just destroy the mid-game with those golems, because a pair of golems is something that no one can deal with unless they have a defusal, pretty much. And even then, you know, you get rid of the one golem, and oh look, there's another one still beating on your face with its massive bonus damage. However, if the Storm Spirit can pick up a couple kills here on the Warlock and kind of force him out of range, get out of lane, not out of range. It's like a combination of lane and range. So if you're neither in lane nor in range, you're out of range. I'm sorry, that was terrible. Anyway, the Storm Spirit, if he can get a couple kills, force the Storm Spirit out of lane, force the Warlock out of lane, make sure he ends up under-leveled coming into the mid-game, while Storm Spirit himself is getting over-farmed and getting that extra mana, the extra items he needs to be a really effective ganker, he can just stomp so many heroes in the mid-game. We've seen a lot of players do very, very well with him recently. Interesting already. That's a little bit different from the average skill build, getting level 2 in the Static Remnant, but I guess he's doing it to more easily. Oh, looks like Furion's going to be porting in behind the Warlock right here. Disruption is coming out. The Storm Spirit Remnant isn't going to actually get anything done. Blowing Wall, the Disruption is still there, but there's the Sprout, and that should end King Red right there. First Blood goes to Santa on that Nature's Prophet. And again, that's exactly what needs to happen if, I mean, this is a very, very mid-game oriented team right here. I mean, they can take it to late game. Gyro's certainly not bad. We saw, in fact, when I casted yesterday, Gyro took a PL lineup with the most perfectly timed Rapier I've ever seen in my life. But generally, against a Phantom Lancer, you don't want to take it too late, just because of the fact that the hero snowballs absurdly hard if you let him, and gets really, really hard to handle. Again, Gyro better at handling that than a lot of heroes, but still hard for anyone to take a really farmed Phantom Lancer. But anyway, I believe the point I was making is that's what needs to happen, because the mid-game focus on this team, the Warlock and the Sand King specifically, especially if the Sand King gets any sort of good experience up here, if he does good pulls, gets some levels going, which he isn't so far, but the stun from the Sand King, especially if he gets his Epicenter at a reasonable time, combine that with the Warlock, and combine that with Fatal Bonds, the amount of damage that is going to come out in the mid-game, if Pain Gaming kind of goes even or is ahead, and the amount of kind of counter initiation they have because of not only the Chaotic Offering, but the Sand King stun, which is very, very long range, and the Epicenter, if he's channeling it out of vision and then stuns in on top of the Offering, that can be huge, and it can just shut down any sort of aggression VP wants to go for. And look at their lineup. That's aggressive. Gyrocopter, very aggressive mid-game carry. Nyx Assassin, incredibly aggressive hero. Fury, an aggressive hero. Storm Spirit, the king of aggressive heroes. So shutting down the Warlock is going to be absolutely huge if they can continue to do it. I mean, so far, 27-3 versus 14-8. Looks like Sand King is going to be stunning in on a Vampire right here, playing the Shadow Demon. Furion decides not to port in. Slow's going to come out from Storm Spirit, but it's not enough. King Red gets off the last auto attack and brings down Shadow Demon, so he gets himself a little bit of return kill, and Batrider dies to a neutral. Considering he has gold right there, I have to assume that that was an accident and it was not, in fact, just a free port home. So that's a bit of a mistake, and it's going to slow down not only what should be his leveling, but, you know, also should be, look at how close he got. He just thought he could finish off those creeps, but it just was too much for him. Wow, that's a lot of money just sitting there waiting to be farmed up. And that's pretty unfortunate, because they need that Batrider also. If they want to start doing any sort of aggression, having that Batrider farmed up, and, you know, ooh, Disruption going to come out. There's the defensive Sand King stun going to come in. Just make sure nobody is ready to go on King Red. King Red's still taking a whole lot of damage. Grent as well. That DD Storm Spirit really hurts, especially when you add an overload on there. Storm Spirit, alright, now he's got 2 points to stun. That's a much more normal build, so you can actually have some disable, some impact. Because being able to zip in and just disable someone for 2.5 seconds in the mid-game is pretty darn significant. In the meantime, we do have our carries just farming up. Airman looks like he's going for a Phase Boots build, so not looking for just, I mean, he doesn't really need to worry about stable lane farming, so he's skipping the Tranquils, obviously.
What's happening to
He's maxed out Flat Cannon, going to be going for kind of a farming build. And also pushing in this tower. Look how low it is already. Below 400 life. Clots in the top lane. Has gone Midas, which is kind of rare on Phantom Lancer. I'm not really a massive fan of it, because not only can the Gyro just farm up super fast because he's gone Flat Cannon, but this means that the PL is kind of delaying his usefulness by a few minutes. He basically, you know, he spends about 7 minutes worth of his income on getting that Midas, or, well, 6.5 minutes, really. And, you know, sure, it's going to accelerate him, but for the next 6.5 minutes, he could have had something that lets him, you know, if they go on him and he doesn't have enough hit points, if they start ganking him nice and early, which with the Nyx Assassin, not really leveling as fast as he could. So, no. He'll probably be okay, but if it delays too many items in the mid-game, we'll see. Midas doesn't really pay for itself for about 10 minutes at least, depending on how much extra gold you're getting. There's the Chaotic Offering dropped on the Storm Spirit. He does have the zip. If the The stun is coming out. Defensive disruption. Going to give him time to get out of that stun. TP is coming in from the Nyx Assassin. Line stun coming out. He's going to catch 3. Amazing stun coming out from the Nyx Assassin. I'm going to let him get Grant. The Warlock ult is just going to be chasing off Shadow Demon right here. Excuse me. Choking a little bit on myself. And Nyx Assassin is actually going to make it out, and TMW zipping right back in, getting a nice little slow and just a little bit of damage out to make sure that Keeper of the Light went down as well. So, what started out looking like it could have been a really effective gank, excellent defensive disruption to make sure that TMW was invincible for the entire duration of that Sand King stun, and then the port in from Nyx and the fantastic stun to catch all 3 heroes with that. You could see he was positioned like right here, and he had one of the enemy heroes like right here, and he caught him just with the edge of it because it hits just ever so slightly right next to you. Really excellent positioning coming out from KSI on that Nyx Assassin. He definitely is what got he got VP those 2 kills for sure, and probably saved Shadow Demon in the meantime, because if he had been chased by anything other than just that Warlock golem, he probably would have died. I mean, any sort of slow, any sort of extra damage, any sort of anything, and he would have gone down. So, I just can't praise that Nyx stun quite enough. Looks like yeah, that's definitely a very farm-oriented build coming out from the Gyrocopter. He's not only going flat cannon so that he can melt things down as quickly as possible, he's going life leech to make sure he can do it stably. He can do all the jungling he wants to after he's already pushed this bottom tower. And he's 64 and 5. His net worth has to be, yeah, 4,300 already. Still, he's just slightly ahead of the Phantom Lancer, who has not gotten a tower yet, but also I guess part of that is probably that at least a few of Gyrocopter's creep kills are going to be neutral creeps. We saw him hanging out in the jungle there, putting some damage, or getting some extra farm. What I meant with putting some damage in is Phantom Lancer putting some damage into this top tower now. It's about 500 life. Looks like we do have Warlock being engaged upon again. Nature's Prophet going to be TPing in behind to make sure that kill is secured. Grant going to go in, but without catching the Nature's Prophet, that's a serious, serious misstep. And the Sand King was trying to hide there, but the Sentry Ward right here was just really barely in range. I think if he was just a little more out, like over here, he probably wouldn't have been in range of that reveal. So really unfortunate for him. There's no way he really could have known that that was a thing. I mean, they obviously dropped it not only to work on the Sand King, but also to make sure there were no wards up here from Warlock, to make sure he could get off Shadow Words and make sure he could initiate more easily with Chaotic Offering. But just, man, so this Warlock, this is exactly what VP... Oh, there's the zip in from Storm Spirit. He gets immediately flame breaked away. Oh, the lasso's coming in. He doesn't really have enough mana to get very far out of here. He's got a mana leak on him too, and now he's stunned coming out of that zip just because of the mana leak. Fire damage is gonna catch him. He tries to get a little more of a zip distance off, but not quite enough. He's gonna live. The call down to slow down Batrider as he's getting out. That missile's not going to do enough damage to kill him. It's probably level 1, but that's going to kill him. The Shadow Demon and the Nature's Prophet and the Nyx all coming in to make sure he goes right down. And Storm Spirit living by the skin of his teeth in that mid lane. The wand charges to get that one last little zip in to make sure he could just barely get out of that fire for the Batrider, and the Flame Break hit him away instead of popping him back in. Really unfortunate. Chaotic Offering going to be dropped. Quick stunning coming out. That Shadow Demon's going to die. Even if he gets himself out of that, the Shadow Word is going to finish him off. Actually, the Chaotic Offering is going to finish him off, but Sand King's going to pay for it. The return comes out from VP, and that's not a hugely awesome trade for you guys, because Sand King, I mean, sure, you're playing him as a support, but he really needs to be kind of an impact hero in the mid-game, and if he doesn't get those levels, he can't be. And while his stun is really nice and good defensively, like they've been using it, Batrider picking up a nice and early Blink Dagger, so Pain can actually try and get something rolling right here. That'd be very, very helpful for them. Having the Bat able to get these pickoffs on heroes that are out of position, grab, maybe pick off Santa while he's hanging out in the jungle. Although Santa is going the support build, and he's getting reasonably close to his mech. He could finish up the Buckler right now if he wanted to, and then he would just need the recipe for the mech. And with how fast Furion farms, especially with a Midas and his Wrath of Nature, he's going to get that mech nice and early. So that's definitely a mid-game build Furion. He's not going for split push. They're going for mid-game kind of team fight, push in. They don't want to take this super late. They don't want that to be a thing, you know? So it looks like Gyro has something coming out right there. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be going for a BKB. Oh, Sand King picking off Storm Spirit in the mid lane. Looks like a nice reveal of that Blink Dagger happened while I wasn't watching. But, you know, that's exactly what they need to do. Batrider needs to be a huge power player right here. King Red has not been getting what he needs to done. He hasn't gone for Midas into Ags, so he's not going for I'm the powerhouse. He's kind of getting support items. He went mid, and now he's getting a mech. I mean, it's certainly not a bad item on Warlock. There comes the stun from the invisible Nyx Assassin. Pot is going to get caught out. Mana burn really quickly. He's got the healing Shadow Word on him, just barely keep him alive. If that hadn't been taken, he would have been serious trouble. Grent goes in to try and get a stun off, but he gets sprouted and has trees chasing him now. Looks like most of the teams are really just consolidating mid. Everybody except Gyrocopter is here and ready to fight. But Gyrocopter, in the meantime, while everyone from Pain Gaming kind of stops farming, comes mid to try to respond to this, Gyrocopter's just pushing that bottom tower. Looks like we might have a Batrider trying to go on him. He's got the blink, but he doesn't have the lasso, so he probably won't be able to get anything done here. And in fact, just going to start napalming creeps and farming them, make sure that Gyro can't take this tower just super easily. And Klot's just going to take his Phantom Lancer back up top, start farming. He's got Drums and Tranquils. So after going Midas, he went Drum Tranquil, which is kind of definitely looking to be more of a mid-game oriented build. I would like him to maybe have gone for a faster diffusal, just to make sure that he could be putting out damage, but at the same time the drums add so much to the rest of his team, so even if he, and also of course giving him a little bit of extra survivability with the extra stats, 9 all attributes, making sure he's just a little bit tankier, his illusions are a little bit tankier, and he's able to maybe help out a little more in these mid-game team fights that they know is coming. Nyx Assassin is going to be in here looking for Klotz. And is he gonna... Oh, there's the trees coming in, but they didn't... That was just poor play. There's the sentry coming out, but it's just not... Oh, he's not in range of that sentry anymore. Yeah, I don't know why Santa decided to port in and kind of just show off where he was showing up before the Phantom Lancer was already stunned. That was just poor play coming out. Now we have the Warlock and the Batrider going to come out. Santa going to get dragged in. KSI taking a lot of damage. Doesn't have mana to Carapace. He's going to tick down to that Shadow Word. We do have Storm Spirit trying to make something happen over here on Grant, but he's got to run away from that Golem too. Fatal Bond's hurting him off those creeps as well. And he's running right through that fire, taking a lot of damage from it. Looks like we might have Batrider trying to come up to the side. He blinks out. Now he's just going to run. They say, alright, we got one. That's pretty much the best we can expect. They don't want to overextend because they're at a little bit of a disadvantage. It feels that way. I should probably actually confirm that. Yeah, alright, about a 3,000 experience advantage and a little less than 3,000 gold advantage for Virtus Pro. And that, at this stage in the game, is reasonably significant. So getting that one pick off and then getting out was definitely a good move. If they overextended into VP, they really ran the risk of throwing away the little advantage that they gained. And, you know, they already caught the overplay, they caught the missteps from VP. Trying to make anything more happen risks just giving VP a bigger lead than they already have, especially when once your Chaotic Offering is burned, and once your Sand King is running low on mana, your Batrider's used all his abilities, you don't have a lot of mid-game power left. Those are reasonably long cooldowns on all of those heroes that make them effective. Especially the Batrider. Firefly is a nice long cooldown, Lasso is a nice long cooldown. Flame Break and Napalm are perfectly spammable, but when you've maxed Napalm, the rest of your damage is coming from Firefly, and then of course Sand King doesn't have a lot of mana just because he doesn't have a lot of farm. I hope he's going to pick up his mana boots really quickly. He's only 5 gold off if that's something he wants to do. We'll see if he sends that courier over to the secret shop or not. He might just be going for an ultra fast Blink Dagger, or, well, as ultra fast as he possibly can get with how he is, and be skipping the mana boots until he has that, just to make sure he can get the most out of that epicenter. Again, very hard to line up properly and if you don't have that Blink Dagger, and you'll probably only catch a couple heroes. Especially because there's enough just immediate disable coming out from either the Nyx Assassin, the Storm Spirit, who is getting engaged upon a little bit over here, gets pulled out, Firefly's going down, the call down is going to come in from the Gyrocopter, he's got his BKB done, Flak Cannon putting a lot of damage out, just hitting everyone, Nature's Prophet going to TP in the back, Warlock does get Storm Spirit, but Gyro has now picked him off in return, and there's the Rocket Barrage to take Keeper of the Light. Nyx actually going to steal the kill on that one. There's the stun in from Grant, Epicenter ready to go, the stun comes out, but it's just quite not in time, plenty of damage coming out onto the Gyrocopter, but there's the Rocket Barrage turnaround. He does not care. He knows he's going down. He's trying to get Grant, but it looks like he's actually getting it away. The Sticky Napalm Slow going to prevent KSI from getting anywhere near him. And now the Firefly, if he doesn't have a... Is he going to burn his Carapace? He's going to burn it to try and get out of there, but there's no way he's going to live. Grant just comes in, pokes him, says, "Why were you chasing me, bro? I got claws. Don't mess with claws." So that ended up actually being, I think, a reasonably good engagement for Pain Gaming. I think they went 4 for 2, maybe. They lost the Coddle and the Warlock, but they picked off 4 heroes in exchange. So that's exactly the kind of thing they needed. And no, only 3. The Shadow Demon didn't die. It was the Storm Spirit who got initiated on. But 3 for 2 trade. I mean, worth it. They picked off the Gyro. They picked off the Storm Spirit. Those are the 2 power player heroes. They didn't lose their. They did lose the Warlock, which again, him falling behind is really not optimal because he's most of their defensive mid-game play. But they're playing catch-up. They got to take what they can get. Although it looks like VP has actually extended their lead a little bit, mostly from creep farm. So unfortunate there for Pain Gaming, but they're definitely doing their best to take these fights, make sure that VP gets nothing for free, and get enough counters to make sure that they can get something done. Warlock Golem was used down here, going on to Gyrocopter and Nature's Prophet, but nothing actually going to come of it. Batrider was not in range to get the Blink Lasso off, and now he's, he wants to Firefly in, he wants to look for someone, but VP is so far backed up down here that nothing is going to happen there. Nature's Prophet's just going to TP top, Gyrocopter going to go farm the jungle. Phantom Lancer, farming up. How's he doing for items? He's got his Diffusal Blade, so he's got Diffusal Drum Tranquils. That's, he can fight now if he really needs to. He would like to have another item for sure, but 145 swing damage is nothing to sneeze at around the 20-minute mark. Looks like we are going to have a stun coming out from KSI. Gets sprouted in. He has no mana to double walk away. He was on cooldown anyway, with the mana burn from Nyx really shutting him down there, but they don't have the chasing power to catch him after the drum is popped. Unfortunate for Virtus Pro right there, but a win for Pain Gaming, not losing that Phantom Lancer, despite the fact they just dedicated 3 heroes, burned a Nyx ultimate ganking him. Still, it looks they're going to at least get some damage on this tower coming out from the Nature's Prophet. Plenty of trees coming down. This is probably going to go down. It doesn't look like they really care too much to react to it, especially not with Klotz sitting at no mana and half HP, Billy at half HP.
Tower's getting beat down.
Not the greatest situation to try and go up there, and yeah, there goes the top tower. Grant and Klotz just trying to push in this mid lane a little bit. Klotz with some healing going on. Just getting some farm with those illusions and then backing up. Warlock looks like he's picked something up. What's he got? Looks like he's just working towards some power treads. Got himself a little more HP, a little more versatility with the tread swapping. Getting whatever stat he needs at the moment. You can get some clutch extra spells off tread switching. For those of you that don't do it, you say, oh, it's kind of a minute sort of bonus. Why would I really waste my time on it? You should. And you can really exploit it. The best exploitation of it is always swapping to agility before you use a bottle or a wand, so that you can then swap. Basically, when your health or your mana get shifted because of a stat change, you maintain the same percentage. So if you shift to agility, where you have the lowest total values, and then use something that increases your total values, and then swap back, you maintain the same higher percentage. I know that's a poor explanation, but I was kind of trying to rush it because the smoke happened, and then I was hoping that there was going to be an engagement here, and then there was no hero. Gyro just back here farming the jungle. Looks like there is going to be a push down bottom, though, coming out from Pain Gaming. They have what they need to. I mean, they have the Keeper of the Light, they have the Phantom Lancer. He's got a Vitality booster now, so he's either going for a Heart or a Vanguard. Looks like we are going to have initiation onto the Gyro. Oh, pops his BKB, negates that entire Epicenter they were charging up for him. I don't know, did Brent just forget that he had that? Couple of heroes getting stunned out by the Nyx Assassin, the Gyrocopter Flat Cannon, getting a lot of damage done, picking off Coddle. There's the counter initiation from the Warlock, but the Storm zips in behind it afterwards. It's going to try and pick him off real quick. That homing missile might pick off Grent. Storm Spirit goes down after just jumping in right. That Warlock goes down eventually, but trading Storm for Warlock, not exactly amazing. Look at the damage on that freaking Golem. So much pain coming out, and Phantom Lancer picking up an extra kill with its assistance. God, that Golem is good. Flaming Fists, because it needs 150 extra damage. Right? Right? 60% chance, 150 AoE damage. God, that's good. Anyway, so actually, again, that was a win for Pain Gaming. I think they lost just the Warlock there and came out with 3 kills. Oh no, they lost the Keeper of the Light as well. So they lost, again, 2 for 3. They're getting these little tiny victories that are trying to help them inch back in, and their carries keep surviving, and they keep picking off power heroes like the Storm Spirit. I mean, the Warlock has kind of lost his position as a power hero. Okay, Warlock actually went, he went drum phase, so he's going for a lot of move speed, a lot of mobility in fights. That is particularly useful. You want to be able to get in and get out with Warlock. You don't want to put yourself in undue risk, kind of skirt the edge of a team fight because all of your spells are so good and have good range. You really want to just hang out the edge and not be worrying about getting in the middle and auto-attacking, because you don't need to be. The only time he'll want to be able to get in and then out is so he can mech and then get back out of the fight. Grant. Alright, he did end up going the mana boots. Good, because a Sand King without mana boots is an incredibly hard amount of mana to work off of. He just doesn't have enough pool, and the fact that his stun is so expensive makes it difficult to keep the hero viable, and you really have to be like, you need some other mana regen, or you're gonna end up going back to pool in between like every 2 ganks, because a couple stuns will half empty your mana pool. Looks like the PL Illusion's gonna run into Santa up here, but just take some free farm coming off of those treants. Use the treants to propagate themselves a little bit. How are we doing on the graphs now? VP's lead has dipped down about to 3,500 on XP. And I'd say about, 3,000-4,000 on the gold graph as well. So Pain Gaming has managed to kind of stop this kind of slow bleed out they had going on here, where VP was just slowly getting a little further ahead. And that's reasonably good for them, because they have Phantom Lancer, and he's actually quite farmed, all things considered. He's got the highest net worth in the game at 12,000, beating out the Gyro at 11,000. I mean, it looks like he's going to be going for Heart. He's got the money for his Reaver, probably just waiting until he has the money for the recipe as well to pick it up. And that's, I mean, a Phantom Lancer in the mid-game. The Gyro doesn't really... Oh, he's got the Demon Edge. Is he going to go for an MKB build in anticipation of a Butterfly coming out? Or is he going to go straight for the Rapier? We're going to find out. Sentry Ward being dropped in anticipation of a Nyx initiation coming out from VP. Another Sentry Ward sitting right there that'll spot that out, so they know they can't go in at least, except that, oh, there we go. King Red getting caught out. He was going to try and counter that. Here comes the call down. Only going to hit the Warlock, but he's just going to melt to that Storm Spirit. Pata going to be the next one to get picked off. Quick double kill. Almost a triple kill coming out for Storm. Looks like Grant just almost got out, but then the Flat Cannon AoE finishes him off. And then Nyx Assassin kills, I'm pretty sure he just killed Billy with his own nuke. Oh no! No, it was just actually the stun damage. I thought the Carapace got popped. And so that's a huge win for VP, and that's exactly what they need, is to be able to put on a little more pressure, take a little more of an advantage before this Phantom Lancer finishes his Heart. And Kloth just wasn't there. I mean, he was out farming, and his team had to know that it wasn't time. He's got his recipe for his Hearts, and there's his Reaver. So he's gonna pick that up, and he's gonna be incredibly tanky, but is it gonna be enough? His team just threw away a pretty decent chunk of XP and gold now, over 7,500 on the XP graph and over 5,000 advantage for VP. So with, where Pain had managed to stop the advantage gain, they kind of leveled out the graph and were starting to slowly inch it back downwards. Some bad decision making just by Grant getting caught out and then other people going in to try to save him when he very obviously was just dead. Cost them, gave VP a much bigger lead than Pain should be comfortable with at the moment. Because this is a team that's hitting its stride, like, now. You have, 300 more gold. I think he's going for it. I think he's going to go for a Rapier build as well. I wonder if this is just going to be the Rapier build. Phase Boots into Helm, into BKB, into a Rapier. Because that's just hilarious if that becomes just the standard Gyrocopter build. And this could be big for Pain Gaming if they can take it without getting noticed. Roshan, obviously huge in any match, but it's kind of exactly what they really need to get back into this game. They need the little boosts. They need Kloth to be able to come in and just kind of fight without needing to worry too much about himself. Especially because since he's so tanky now... Oh, they got scouted by a Treant. VP now has to know they're there. But are they going to do anything about it? Looks like... Are they just going to take the tower instead? I don't think that's a wise decision, because Kloth is already going to be super hard to bring down. Even, even if they do... Yup, there's the Rapier. Oh, I love Rapier Gyro. It's so much fun. I love that Rapier is a standard item on a hero. That is awesome. It's not even like, oh my god, this is a desperation maneuver. This is a pretty standard item when you're dealing with... I guess making it standard against a Phantom Lancer makes a perfectly large amount of sense, because he's going to be tanking off those illusions. Being able to pop off all the illusions in one shot of Flat Cannon because you bought it... Wow, he didn't even max Rocket Barrage. He's put everything into stats to make himself as tanky and just shoot as quickly as possible and just deal that little bit of extra damage. So he's already got 8 points in stats coming out at level 17. Oh, Nick's going to get initiated on. Santa going to pour it in. Oh, Billy going to get absolutely destroyed. Did Nyx make it out of there? Looks like he did. He's just gone. I don't know how he even did that, but I didn't see it happen. Looks like Grant's going to be charging up that epicenter and catches 3! Nice call down is going to come in, though, and do a lot of counter damage. The epicenter damage is not enough to make up for the fact that, oh, look, there's a rapier right there. You're just going to die. Oh, Klotz could be in trouble. I don't know if he really wants to mess with that. KSI popping off the Spiked Carapace to make sure that the illusion doesn't just beat him down. But now the damage is going to be coming out from this gyrocopter, from Illidan's Storm Rage. It's going to be obviously completely brutal. I'm curious to see if what he goes for next. If he tries to tank up at all, or if he just goes for a second rapier. So powerful, it cannot have a single owner. Love that text. Storm Spirit picking up his own BKB to help him fight against, obviously, the Sand King stun, the Sand King damage, the Bat Rider damage that's coming out. But the levels are so low on some of these supports that it's just, let's see here. Yeah, you have a level 11 Bat Rider, who's supposed to be kind of your ganking hero right here. Level 12, and this, look at just the colors on this graph. Aside from Klotz playing this Phantom Lancer, he's the only person who is not just below with the entirety of VP. Like, VP's Nyx and their Shadow Demon, their heroes that were played as their hard supports, are outleveling everyone but the carry on Pain Gaming. That is really telling. And now, the difference in experience now over 14,000. The gold graph now over 10,000. This is just getting kind of untenable now for Pain. You never give up when there's a rapier in the game, obviously, because if you get the rapier, it's a huge, huge swing. But the gyro is so much safer with the rapier that Pain is going to need a serious catch-out to get anything done, and King Red getting picked off is not what they need to happen right now. Grant going to get a very nice stun to prevent that from happening, but the Storm Spirit BKB is just going to make sure nothing can happen to stop them there. Going to just zip around, try to pick off the Bat Rider, who had managed to get the Shadow Demon, just not enough, and here comes the Gyrocopter between the Call Down and the Flat Cannon. Just too much damage for Pain Gaming to deal with. Absolutely brutal, as usual, when you see a Divine Rapier. So, what's going to happen now? Are they gonna push in? They have about 20 seconds, and with a Rapier, 20 seconds is that's a whole lot of damage you can get done. Look how quickly those illusions go down. You know, those are illusions that have a heart. Oh, silence coming out on the Klotz. The stun going to come out. Quick pickoffs coming in. The homing missile is dropped. Rocket barrage as well. I don't know why he wasted time using the homing missile. Not really amazing. There goes the Aegis coming off a Klotz. They pick up the Sand King as well, so that powerful, powerful stun is now just out. That really is one of the best stuns in the game, and I think people really underestimate that when they think about, oh, what is Sand King particularly good for? Oh, he's got this, you know, reasonably good stun. It's not just reasonably good. It's freaking amazing. It's, you know, good damage. You have 280 damage, a 2-second stun, and the amount of targets you can catch with it, if you're a really excellent Sand King player, is just ridiculous. It's 650 range, everyone in that 650 line, and it's got enough width to it, you can get a whole lot of work done. Anyway, I just completely lost track of what I was saying. I think my point was Sand King is dead. That's a really good stun they don't have. Now he's alive again. So obviously, you know, VP not in a rush, and Gyro looks like he's going to tank up, getting himself a Reaver, probably going to go the Satanic route. Make sure that as long as he lives, as long as he is not disabled when he's at about, 200 life, he can just pop his Satanic, instantly heal himself back to full, and not just, you know, we usually say instantly heal back to full when we talk about a Satanic. Me and any other caster who really talks about it, we say, oh, you know, they have another life bar you basically have to deal with. Nothing is quite as instant as someone with a Rapier, because you've got this, you know, 100, what is this? Oh god, I can't remember. I think 150% leech, something like that, on top of about 500 damage, so every swing is healing you about 750. Yes, there's armor mitigations and calculations there, but alright, fine, let's just say at least every swing is healing you for like 400, even on some pretty reasonably well-armored heroes. And here we go. It looks like VP wants to... They've consolidated as 5. They're saying, alright, we can probably do this now. We have the Rapier. We have the HP on our Gyro to just be a little more aggressive. But no, they might just want to wait for the Satanic. And here we go. That's why I love having a Shadow Demon up against the... Oh, where's the propagation? There we go. They propagate their own. And the trick is that the illusions that are propagated by Juxtapose have a much, much longer duration than the disruption illusions. All you need is the disruption illusions to start propagating one or two of them, and then you can maintain that army as long as a regular Phantom Lancer can. It looks like, oh, they're going to catch Gyrocopter, try to pull him back in, get as much damage as possible on him. His BKB is now over, so he doesn't have a lot going on. The Chaotic Offering going to get a lot of stuns going on, but look at the damage! The damage from the Flak Cannon just blowing everyone up. They pulled him into this middle of their whole team, and they couldn't kill him fast enough for that Flak Cannon damage to be insignificant. So he just blows up the entire Pain Gaming team with that Rapier. And this, I mean, that's why Gyrocopter is so ridiculous with that item. Because it doesn't matter which way you're facing, it doesn't matter what your positioning is. If you're in range to engage the Gyrocopter, except with some very specific heroes that are using some very specific skills, if you're in range to deal damage to the Gyrocopter, you're in range to get hit by a Rapier, and it's gonna happen. All he does is press E, and you're taking Rapier hits. And the GG comes out from Pain Gaming. Not surprising there. They played well. They started running it back, but that kind of throwaway fight in the mid lane where Warlock got caught was really the turning point. And then at that point, it wasn't that VP needed a Rapier. It's just that that was the next logical progression coming out from the Gyrocopter. I'm wondering if the Rapier Gyrocopter is just going to wipe Phantom Lancer off the face of the draft. Because that's now two games in a row that I've casted where Phantom Lancer gets picked, he's actually doing reasonably well, but a Rapier comes out on Gyro, and he can't do anything anymore. Because he has nothing. I mean, once those illusions get popped. Alright then, that's game one. I'm gonna kill the stream real quick, and I'll be right back with the next game.